So we are going to create a contract in Sage Intacct based on a deal in HubSpot, a deal in a line item. You can see we have our best deal ever here. If we just click into it real quick, you see we have most of the main things filled out that we need, like a company. If we scroll down a little bit, we have a line item attached to this as well. And what I'm going to do is just run the integration in Data Blend. I'm just going to hit the Run HubSpot to Sage Intacct Contracts workflow. This can take a little bit of time, usually a little bit over a minute, depending on how much data is in HubSpot. Mainly because there's a lot of different objects we need to pull out of HubSpot, as well as Sage Intacct to do various lookups on IDs and things, just to make sure that no duplicates get created and things of that nature. So we'll just give this a minute to run. And there we are. Now that the workflow has completed, we can jump into Sage Intacct. And I'm just going to refresh my contract list here. I could just go to my contracts and select it from the menu here. Since I'm already in the contract list, I will just refresh. And you'll see we now have our best deal ever for company ABCDEFG. And if we drill into this contract, we have our line item associated with it as well. So that is how you create contracts between HubSpot and Sage Intacct. Okay, here we will be walking through creating a HubSpot to Sage Intacct contract workflow. So from the wizard, choose HubSpot as your source, Sage Intacct as your destination, and then the create, update, contracts workflow type. On the next screen, you will then just need to choose your HubSpot credential, which will pre-populate fields by default over here on the right. These are the 11 fields by default. You can pick and choose any of the other HubSpot fields available to you that you might want to include. And you can also include a filter if you would like to. And you can filter by a property. You can see you have a list of operators to use, and then what value you want to filter on. I am not going to include a filter in this demo, and we're just going to move on to the next step, which is the contract header setup. And by default, you start with these mappings, as you can see, between HubSpot and Sage Intacct. Down below are a set of options. You will need to enter a value for a location ID. In my instance, I'm just going to go with location ID 10. You can choose a value for state. By default, it's in progress, but you can change this to draft if needed, and you'll notice it changes up here in the mapping. I will just leave this to in progress. And then you can change your term type from term to evergreen. If you choose evergreen, you'll notice the evergreen macro becomes a required field. You will just need to enter in the name of the evergreen term type here, if you know what that is. I'm just going to actually switch this back to termed where this is not required, and then choose my term name. We'll just say net30. Move on to the next step, which is our contract line setup. And you'll notice, pre-populated mappings again. Similar idea, just with different options down below. Again, I will go with 10 for my location ID. Billing method, you can do fixed price or quantity based. Quantity based, you'll notice some of the required fields are not required if you choose that. If you go fixed price, you'll see billing options is required. State, you have in progress and draft again. Revenue template, these are your 4 options here: straight line, daily rate, quantity based. I'm just going to say straight line. Choose value for billing options. Now, depending on what you choose here, you will have different requirements. If you choose one time, you'll notice nothing else is required and you can move on. If you choose use billing template, you will need to choose one of these billing templates from this list. Enter in a billing start date and a billing end date. You can also enter free text here if you want to. If you go up to billing template and you want to just type something in, you can click on the F of X and just type in whatever your template name may be right here, just to show how that works. But by default, these are the 3 options available to you. These can be overridden, as I just showed. And then billing frequency, if I were to include with every invoice, you would just need to choose a billing frequency as well. I'm just going to keep this one time for right now for this demo. Click on the next step. And then we just need to choose our Sage Intacct credential. Again, our entity ID that we want this to load to if it is multi-entity. And then click next. and create down below. So it's going to create everything you see up here in DataBlend, which is essentially a workflow that will run this entire integration. And that's how you set it up.